Good day. Welcome to another edition of Ebimo Amongo's Perspective on Global Affairs. This is a special edition, and this is coming off the breaking news we just got now that the Maduro administration in Venezuela may have fallen. President Trump has announced that President Maduro, the Venezuelan president, and his wife have been captured and they have been flown. They are on their way to America. This is President Trump's tweet announcing this. The United States has successfully carried out a large-scale strike against Venezuela and its leader, President Nicolas Maduro, who has been, along with his wife, captured and flown out of the country. This operation was done in conjunction with the U.S. law enforcement. Details to follow. There will be news conference today at 11 a.m. at Mar-a-Lago. Thank you for your attention to this matter. President Trump has been building up to attack Venezuela for a while now. We have seen the amassing of a large amount of military armament around Venezuela, and now we finally got to see that there was an attack on Venezuela yesterday night. 3 cities were attacked: the capital city, Caracas, La Guardia, and another city called Miranda. They were all attacked. The port in La Guardia was destroyed, and the attack also took place where the mausoleum of Chavez was destroyed. A lot of things happened in that one night. The attack started at around 2 a.m. in the night. These are some visuals from this attack. It was one where the Chinooks were seen. Obviously, the Chinooks carried special forces, American special forces, and they went into Venezuela. They were sighted, and there was a lot of bombing in some specific points in Venezuela. American special forces were seen dropping off around Maduro's house, and they landed in the area of the president's residence, and a manhunt for Maduro began. Obviously, that operation has been successful, as President Trump has announced. So Maduro has been captured, and this won't be the first time America is capturing a Latin American or South American president, but this is the largest country. This is a country of over 40 million people. This has been going on for a while now. And Maduro has been at the crosshairs of the American president for a while. So the Chinook helicopters were seen flying over Venezuela. But the attack was captured in many forms across many forms of social media. This is one other video that showed the different points where the attack was taking place. There was a lot of bombing and missiles being dropped off on different parts of Caracas, and they were said to be mainly military points in Caracas. Missiles. We got to learn now that the missiles were mainly Tomahawk missiles that were shot at various locations in Caracas. How did we get here? More news, though, is still coming out, and I will review how we got here. But it turned out that there was also ground forces that were sent in. The offensive was well planned, obviously, as we have seen. The Department of War has been planning this for a long while now. For over 3 months, America had been amassing a very lethal force off of the coast of Venezuela, and this is the kind of force that they were projecting there. A massive one that involved a lot of aircraft carriers. One aircraft carrier, the largest aircraft carrier in the world, which is the Gerald Ford aircraft carrier. It has been in Venezuela now off the coast of Venezuela for a while. So we see this now as being President Trump getting what he wanted. He has been wanting this for a long time now, and finally he has gotten it. President Trump has been dogged. He has, in his first tenure, he wanted Maduro off. Maduro is the successor of Hugo Chavez. After Hugo Chavez died of cancer, Maduro was his chosen successor and ultimately went on to lead the country, won elections. And most times, the American president was always saying that these elections were not free and fair. The big problem, though, is that in South America, in Latin America, Maduro represents a threat to very capitalist America because they are socialist leaning in their government. So he has had this problem with first Hugo Chavez, where a coup was took place against Hugo Chavez. And now we have now seen that this big build-up has finally led to this point where we have successful, as President Trump will see, successful operation against Maduro. It was by all means a limited operation because it was one where many people had feared that there would have been war. And if there had been war, ground forces going into Venezuela would not have been a good thing. America would have had some pain and it would have been an extensive war. Maduro had been ratcheting up his society. He has he's very popular, and he has been getting the support of his people, mainly the military. The military had been behind him, but it turns out also that his defense minister was also attacked in this particular operation, and nobody knows where his defense minister is at this point in time. This is his defense minister, and we don't know if he was captured or neutralized. So the American ground forces, they took this operation very fast. They made it very clean. They didn't make it a long one. But we know that many military infrastructure was destroyed in Venezuela. These are some of the visuals of the attack. It was obviously an attack, shock and awe, because for over 3 months, the Venezuelan military has been very aware that they are going to have an operation against them. But one thing, though, we know is that Nicolas Maduro has made himself quite available. Many times, many people see him in many rallies. He's been hosting rallies. He's been available, seen around. And yesterday, he was even being hosted by he had a hosting of some Chinese delegation. I mean, this was now creating the impression that many people were thinking that maybe the Chinese were warning Maduro that America was planning an operation against him. He met with the Chinese delegation yesterday, and it came off that maybe the Chinese were sending intelligence to him that he had an operation being planned against him. The Chinese have been Maduro's supporters because they buy the oil of Venezuela, we know. The reason is that when Hugo Chavez and the regime of Hugo Chavez took over Venezuela, what they did was that they nationalized most of the oil fields and nationalized the oil industry. That industry was dominated by American firms like ExxonMobil and Chevron and all. And it is for that reason why President Trump has said repeatedly that they want their oil back. Everybody knows that this is about oil. This regime change thing is about oil. And Corina Machado, the Nobel Peace Prize laureate, who has been lined up as a replacement to Maduro, has said that she is going to make sure that America gets back this oil field. She has also promised to make better relationships with Israel. So this operation has been long in planning. Finally, Maduro has been sent away. We now know, we don't know how the administration will stand. We don't know what kind of, what will happen if the Maduro administration, if this particular group of people who are running Venezuela now can rally around and find a way to keep the administration going, or if they will be so demoralized and shocked that the administration may fall, because taking away Maduro may not necessarily be the end of the Chavista regime. If we're going forward, we have to go and see quite a lot of the competencies of the Chavista regime to be able to survive this attack on them. But nevertheless, America has very successfully extracted Maduro out of Venezuela, something unheard of. It's going to be a big shock to the Latin American and South American countries there. It has never happened in a long time. We've not seen this. It has never happened to a country this big. We've known that it happened in small countries like Panama. It also happened in Grenada, but not at this level. Maduro is popular. It's very protected, but the Americans have done what the Americans have always done. President Trump has always been boasting that America has the best military. And of course, this will be a victory for the special forces. Why would America go on a campaign against Venezuela? Many people feel most commentators feel that it is to deflect and move away from a war that they will not lose. They've been losing to a war where they have their chances and the probability of winning very high. The operation was carried out in a manner that did not allow the Venezuelans to respond. Maybe they just didn't have the kind of weaponry they would have responded with, because for the past 3 months or a few months ago, the Americans declared a blockade around Venezuela. Obviously, that may just be to prevent the kind of air defense systems that would have probably averted this to have happened. But whatever it is, we all know that America has serious allies within the system. We were even thinking probably a rebel group will take over, because there were also operations off of the coast of Venezuela, and it is expected that a ground force will take over. We are going to continue to see this. But while all this were going on, and when there was fog of what was really happening, Maduro did actually put out a statement. He put out a statement that you would think would indicated that he was not around. It was a statement in case he was not around, and this is the statement there that he put out. He had declared a state of emergency, so the government may have declared a state of emergency. President Nicolas Maduro has ordered all national defense plans to be implemented at the appropriate time and circumstances in strict adherence to the provisions of the Constitution of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, organic law on the state of exception, and the organic law on national security. In this regard, President Nicolas Maduro has signed and ordered the implementation of the decree declaring a state of external commotion throughout the national territory to protect the rights of the population, the full functioning of republican institutions, and to immediately proceed to armed struggle. The entire country must activate to defeat this imperialist aggression. Likewise, he has ordered the immediate deployment of the Command for the Comprehensive Defense of the Nation and the Direction Organs for Comprehensive Defense of all states and municipalities of the country. In strict adherence to Article 51 of the United Nations Charter, Venezuela reserves the right to exercise legitimate defense to protect its people, its territory, and its independence. We call on the people and government of Latin America, Caribbean, and the world to mobilize in active solidarity against this imperialistic aggression. As Supreme Commander Hugo Chavez has pointed out, in the face of any circumstance of new difficulties, no matter how great, the response of all patriots in unity, struggle, and battle, and victory. So Maduro had put out this statement, and it is a statement to rally his remaining supporters. If indeed there's some strand of the administration still left, if they don't cower and fritter away, as happened in Syria. In Syria, the soldiers and the army completely shattered and fractured when the HTC was coming, and Assad's government melted away in a big hurry. They had an army of over 250,000 in Syria, but they could not protect Assad. And the HTC, HTS, now led by Al-Julani, Al-Sharadan, took over. They were just a ragtag army of 40,000. So in the face of this, now we know that there's been an extensive training by the CIA, by all of those American institutions that are helped to this insurgency. They may activate them, because a lot of the military infrastructure were attacked in this operation. So Hugo Chavez, we found out that one of the structures attacked was actually the mausoleum of Hugo Chavez. The mausoleum of Hugo Chavez was attacked, and it was probably destroyed. It was burning at the time many people saw it. It was burning, and it may have just been that it was a sign that this particular Hugo Chavez regime is over. Because one of the things America doesn't like is to have mausoleums who are shrines for heroes. We know what happened with Osama bin Laden. He was buried at sea, so there will be no point for anybody to be able to go and worship him and make him a hero. So Hugo Chavez's mausoleum was destroyed, and this is one of the points that happened over the course of this particular event. So it's still an ongoing thing. Will the administration survive? That is the big talk. Will this administration survive? Is there been contingency to take care? Because we know that it was supposed to be a decapitation strike. did the Americans take out almost the most significant people in the administration. Decapitation strike has not necessarily been very successful. We know how the Israelis have taken out Nasrallah. They've taken out most of the leadership of Hamas and Hezbollah. And even though they even took out the Syrian government, they still they've not got the way it hasn't gone the way they wanted. So now they have reduced and maybe changed and removed the administration of Maduro, but it is still left for us to know whether that administration in its whole form has changed or will have been replaced. The operation is ongoing. We will know if they will survive, whether they will move forward without Maduro, because it's one thing to remove Maduro, it's another thing to remove a government. It's much harder. We saw how the attack on Iran was supposed to have removed the Ayatollah bit, and there was a lot of killing of the members of the IRGS, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard of Council of Iran, and yet they survived. They quickly rallied around. The officers who were left rallied around, took over, and brought pain to the Israelis. So that's it now. Will the administration survive? This is the big question. We are going forward now. But what has been Maduro's sins? President Maduro's sins has been saying that this operation has been called Operation Southern Spare. It is an operation that has been building up. One, we know recently that first it started with the shooting down of or blasting off, bombing of some ships. He calls narco-terrorist ships, some boats, mainly boats. And then it also has gone through the designation of Maduro as a narco-terrorist, and then there was $50 million prize put on him by the FBI as wanted. And then we also saw that the blockade of the coast of Venezuela, and eventually there was also now the seizure of some oil tankers. The oil tankers, the most controversial, though, one managed to escape, but 3 oil tankers have been seized and taken off to Texas in America. So America has been ramping up this pressure. They also blockaded quite the airport and the airspace of Venezuela and told air travelers not to go to Venezuela, but obviously something that was not happening as they wanted it to. One interesting thing happened while they were blockading the whole of the Venezuelan port and seizing oil tankers. One of those tankers that was being chased, the Bella One, was able to somehow change its name to Minera and became a Russian designated and Russian flagged tanker. That now is being discussed if it will be allowed to go into international waters. Maduro has had the support of China and the support of Russia. And one of the main things that worried the Americans is that the main oil industry that was lost to the Americans was taken over by the Iranians. The Iranians were now the ones providing the technology to continue to run those oil industry, because the technology used to be American, Chevron, Halliburton, all those services companies, Baker Hughes, they all lost out. And it was the Iranians who were now giving the Venezuelans the competence to run their oil and gas industry. And they were also helping them sell their oil and buy oil from them. And that was one of the big problems. The influence of Iran within the Venezuelan area, or the Iran, countries that America considers as potent enemies, are the ones that really, really riled politicians within Trump's orbit, particularly Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio has been the main promoter of this action against Venezuela. He has been the one. It is his own department. It is his own project, and it is his own enterprise. A counter official of President Trump, Grenell, had a much more dovish attitude towards the Venezuelan authority. He had said Maduro had sent Grenell, an emissary of President Trump, to reach out to President Trump and tell him that they can have an involvement in the oil industry. He tried to make a lot of peace with the president, but President Trump wouldn't have it. President Trump was very maximalist, was telling him to leave, or else something will happen to him. Obviously, something has finally happened to him. So President Trump has finally got what he wants. But will it be the end? Will it stop the Americans, the Russians, will they stop the Chinese? That is left to what will go on. Now there may be an insurgency. So President Trump has accused Maduro of counter-narco terrorism, and he alleges that Nicolas Maduro led the Cartel de la Sol, de los Sols, a narco-terrorist organization. And then he authorized strikes on a lot of vessels. We saw that those are the vessels he called drug trafficking vessels. He designated Maduro a terrorist, and then he also said that Tren de Aragua, a former foreign terrorist organization, was shipped by Maduro to come and terrorize America. One of the main things that happened was that it came out and emerged that the Biden administration had an agreement with the Maduro government to send Venezuelans to America when there was a labor shortage because of the war in Ukraine. The linkages between geopolitics is quite interesting to see. There was a war in Ukraine, there was inflation in America, and labor inflation was very sticky, and the Biden administration opened up the portal by which a lot of immigrants moved into America. Many came from Venezuela. And President Trump says that Maduro was a very, very bad actor in that act. He opened up the prisons in Venezuela and let a lot of prisoners into America. That's what he believes. But on balance, quite a lot of Venezuelans got into America. The attack on Venezuela over the course of these past years, I must say, has really damaged the Venezuelan economy. It has done damage also to the demographics in Venezuela, because to a large extent, they've lost some of their best brains, their doctors, their nurses, their professors to America. They are now mainly refugees. So, and as long as President Trump said, right, one of his big statements, he didn't even deny it. He says, we want our oil back. So this operation is also about oil. Maduro has said they want to steal Venezuela's oil. Trump has said that, yes, we want our oil back, because most of those concessions before they were nationalized was American concessions. But Maduro the other day just was having an interview, and he said the agreements between the Americans and the Venezuelan state was very, very lopsided. He said the rentiers, as he called them, took 90% of all the profits and gave only 10% to the Venezuelans. That kind of disparity in the sharing of wealth was what we tend to see when oil companies from the West do business. Kazakhstan found out the hard way. They opened up their oil industry to the British, the Shell, BP, and the Americans, and they found out that they got almost not enough of it. This was also what was happening in Russia, when quite a lot of oligarchs were given oil fields, and the Russian state was not getting as much of it from it. So what did Putin do? One of the things he did was that he nationalized it. It's a refrain that the oil companies are not good actors when they engage with countries that don't have the technology to refine their own oil, extract their oil, and usually the agreements and the deals they have is lopsided. That also is the problem most of them have with Iran, because Iran kicked out most of these companies, and over the course of time, they've now developed the competence by themselves. Russia too has done the same thing. Russia has also now developed the competence to even run and build LNG plants and build LNG ships. It helps. It was at a time when they don't have the technology to extract oil by themselves. The Western countries that had this technology tended to put unfavorable laws and unfavorable agreements that made it very uncomfortable for them. So today now we see that this has finally happened. But going up, before we go, how did we get here? These troops that President Trump put out there was quite extensive. He put out 15,000 troops, and then the USS Gerald Ford, and then several destroyers and all these other things. This is a picture of the blockade and the blockade around Venezuelan coast. This USS Gravely, USS Iwo Jima, USS Samson, there were submarines, nuclear submarines, USS San Antonio, and USS Fort Lauderdale, and Justin Johnson. And then they were also now finally joined by the USS Gerald Ford, so the total deployment there was 15,000 people, and it is now left to see if these 15,000 soldiers Marines will be deployed to support local insurgency. It's an ongoing thing. We expect that local insurgency will come up because it is not just enough, like I said, to capture Maduro. It may just be necessary also to capture the regime, change the regime. It will now be left to conjecture for us to see the organizational capacity of the Maduro, the Chavistas, those ones who support Maduro and who have also supported the philosophies of Hugo Chavez. Hugo Chavez is the spirit, the main spirit that drives this group, and it is left for us now to see if they are going to be able to resist this American push to change the administration and get back and rein back and take Venezuela, and possibly put and place an American-friendly president, one like Corina Machado, the one who won the Nobel Peace Prize, and who has also been touted as a possible replacement for Maduro, or La Guaida, the Guido, the former Speaker of the House of the Parliament in Venezuela, who is now, I should say, a lecturer in Miami, Florida, very close to where President Trump has his Mar-a-Lago. So we are going to continue to observe this space. We'll have more details in my subsequent shows, but for now, this is where I'll end this video for today. If you're new to this channel, please subscribe. If you have any views regarding the opinions I just expressed, please put them in the comment section. Do well to like and share. Until my next video, you have a good day.